I'm back in the office studio at the computer, having shot yesterday's shoot at the skate park, which went really well. It was bloody cold, but we managed to get through it quite quickly. So I had three models turn up in the time lapse. You don't see the third one, but we had someone else come after that initial one that you saw, and it went really well. So I tried to get some portraits in the locations that I'd scouted out in that skate park. But obviously things shift when you're there. Your brain goes into a different mode, and you see things and want to try different things out. And that's one of the big things I found is you can plan a shoot as much as you want, but on the day you often end up changing what you thought you were going to do, which can also be a bad thing. It's good in one way because it means you're trying things out and experimenting, but sometimes you get everything just right. You get all your settings dialed in, everything like that, and then for some stupid reason you decide to change it in a moment. That didn't happen, but yeah, it was good to have the space and make our way around it and get a few different portraits. So I kept it simple. It was the single light one AD400 Pro light, which is like a battery light. So that means there's no cables. I haven't got to worry about power. Obviously, there's no power there. So that was good for being mobile. The only issue we had was the wind. It wasn't horrendous wind, but it was enough to catch the softbox and tip it over. You see it very briefly in the time lapse, but the light fell over and it actually landed on the light. Let me show you. It landed on its back. There's normally a handle here. I've taken it off to glue it, but you can see it landed right on its battery pack and on the handle, but the handle took the brunt but it snapped. So that was a bit of a lucky escape. Like the bulb didn't go, anything like that. So that was a bit of a downer, but it happens. And to be honest, it happens so often. I don't know why I sort of forget to take it into account. So I ended up asking the mum of the first two models to stand there and hold it. So I didn't really have much choice otherwise, because it was just going to keep going over. So that's probably why having an assistant is always beneficial. But for this project, I'm just trying to really get going with it. So I'm trying to keep the logistics and organisation of it as concise as possible. But it didn't stop the shoot. So we moved around. These volunteers were just local kids who use the skate park, who enjoy that sort of sport, and were happy to come along in their normal attire, bring their skateboards, just be themselves. That was the idea. It wasn't to try and turn them into something that they're not. So they were really good, really relaxed. Obviously, when people aren't models or used to that sort of thing, it can be quite difficult. And obviously, I'm looking through the camera. I'm thinking of small tweaks here and there. Look here, turn here a tiny bit. So all these micro adjustments that can be a little bit hard to translate to the person when they're not used to that, and often they can move quite a lot, and suddenly you've lost that shape that you were liking. But all things considered, they were great. It was very simple. If you go through my portfolio, you see it's not a lot of smiling. It's a lot of serious faces and staring, which I quite like. Quite intense portraits. So being the ages they were, that suited them down to the ground, I think. But yeah, it went really well. I'm going to post some of the final shots at the end of this video to give you an idea of what it was I was trying to achieve. So now I'm trying to think of what could be the next sort of environment to take this project. So I've said before, the working title I've got is The Kids Are All Right. The idea being that it's about photographing kids of a certain age out and about doing physical activities or in amongst hobbies that are outside, outdoors, or physical things that aren't behind the screen of a phone, to try and elevate that idea that you know, there's a whole world out there, and there are kids that are doing it. They're not all buried behind a screen all the time. So yeah, it's looking into that world and trying to see what comes of exploring those hobbies and those activities that they can all be doing. So I got in contact with a not BMX, mountain bike dad who said him and his kids have got a trail that they use every week with some friends. So I'm hoping to get down there and explore that area. So maybe it'll be, instead of obviously the skate park being a quite a rigid, solid concrete little environment, this could be a bit more under in the woods, a bit more earthy and terrainy. So that could be interesting. And then yeah, I'm thinking of all these different. Well, I've got loads of different ideas that I could try. Bloody handle. Loads of different concepts and team sports, stuff like that. I'm thinking of football teams, rugby teams, hockey teams. I was even just thinking of I've got an image in my head of a school kid in a school uniform on the playground. So just that open, vast asphalt playground, tarmac playground behind them with all the markings that we all understand and all remember probably from our childhood, and just having that like a strong portrait of a kid in a uniform but stood amongst that, no phones, dressed as smart with their uniform or not, however they look. Yeah, that's it for now. I'll see you in the next one.